Hey everyone, welcome back to On Point. This episode I sit down with the Born and Raised guys, Wes, Trent, Cody. We all talk about the Broadhead testing we're about to perform next week and what to expect, what to look for, and basically just breaking down the different things that we're going to be testing, the different aspects of a Broadhead, what's important when you're looking at a Broadhead, and then also explaining the kind of the point system that we're putting behind these heads as well, and a lot of the things that we want to make sure people are aware of before they start watching these videos. I don't want to hype this too much, but I honestly do believe this is going to be a Broadhead test that people go back, look at, and then use years from now. And then also, I think this is going to be the most wide and comprehensive Broadhead test ever performed. The biggest one that I know of right now is by Chris Dunlap, who's a good friend of mine. He tested 29. Right now, we're at 45, and the list is growing. And cannot be more excited about the testing that we're going to do. There's things that have never been done before that we collectively came up as a group and decided that these are good ideas. These are things that will push the boundary for testing in the future, that people can now go out and perform their own tests that will give actual data that is very objective, very unbiased, and I think it's going to be a great test. And so without any further ado, please go ahead and give me your feedback. You know, Wes was serious in this. Give me your feedback. Message me on any of the platforms if you have any suggestions, any ideas for tests. We're always happy to do that. It's not too late to get your feedback heard. And then the second thing is, if you don't want to miss this test, you can watch it both on my channel, on the YouTube channel, or on the Born and Raised Outdoor channel. So if you are not a subscriber on my channel, type in my name, Garrett Weaver, or you can just type in On Point with Garrett Weaver. My channel will pull up. Hit that subscribe button, and then make sure you click that bell icon. And so as soon as I upload, that will notify you when I upload. And right now I haven't been uploading hardly at all because I've been so focused on the podcast that the YouTube channel's kind of suffered, but this content will be coming out as soon as it records. I'm going to try and get it up as soon as it records and to coincide with the bro guys here. But very important that you guys do that. You hit the bell icon, and then so as soon as I upload, you get a notification. You can go on there, watch it, give me your feedback. And there's going to be multiple videos because there's so many Broadheads. There'll be multiple basically episodes of the Broadhead testing. So, or else it would be probably like an hour and a half long video. So no one wants to sit around watching people test Broadheads for an hour and a half, I'm guessing. But some people can watch, 20, 30-minute long videos, multiples of them, and then see the grand finale in the end. But outside of that, guys, appreciate everybody listening, and I will see you at the end. Bye.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Born and Raised audio experience. We're 4 deep today. We are 4 deep today. So we've got Cody to my right. We got Weston over there with a lav mic on because he doesn't know how to set stuff up. And we've got a special guest again, Garrett Weaver. He's kind of a regular on the show, and I love it because he comes up with some good stuff. He's kind of our tech guy. So when we're going to get some real technical stuff, it's like, Garrett, talk to me. So, and then we got Cody's dog in the house too. So we're wrangling dogs. Yeah, herding cats around here. But so what we wanted to do today is jump on. This has turned into a storm, has it not?
What started off as one Instagram post with 395 comments.
It definitely has got its life of its own. Last year we did some Broadhead testing, kind of played around with it. Like, hey, let's shoot a video. Bada bing.
This would be cool.
Right.
And now apparently we're taking it to the very next level, which, as I'm told, is the top of the level on the internet. The most Broadheads ever tested at once, which is a number of
45.
Holy
moly.
moly.
I think is what our final count is. Yeah.
45. I didn't even know they made that many different heads. That's for sure.
They make hundreds.
Really?
Yeah, there's
hundreds?
a pile of manufacturers now.
Well, there's probably hundreds coming out a year right now.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
See, shows how much I know. So I'm not going to talk too much during this section because I'm not really the tech guy. I'm going to leave that up to these guys. But anyway, so let's dive into it. Guys, when we started out this whole thing and we started out saying, okay, we're going to do another Broadhead test that kind of feeds off of the one we did last year and take it to the next level. What is that, taking it to the next level versus what we did last year?
Do you want me to take it, or you got it?
Well, we can tag team.
We can tag team this. Well, in a lot of the tests, first of all, the biggest test that I've seen
is from Chris Dunlap. He did 29 heads.
Yeah.
And so when I heard you guys were doing this thing, I'm like, I want to be a part of that. So I kind of invited myself along. So thanks for letting me be the
No. We wanted you
tag
here.
along here. But so I think I got a hold of Wes, and he's like, well, my goal's 75. I'm like, well, holy crap, that's
70.
that's
That
giant.
was my goal.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say 75 is because there's going to be a bunch of people online after we do this, and they're going to say, well, you didn't test this.
Yeah.
Okay? So I wanted just as many broadheads as we could possibly get to shoot them. And turns out, if you want all those broadheads, you're most likely going to have to shoot 100 grains. Because
A lot of people
majority
don't make the
of
125s.
broadheads that
Oh, really?
are out there are 100 grains. And so we started this off by saying it's 125. Most of us shoot 125 heads. I know us three do.
Yeah.
Garrett, do you shoot 125?
I do.
So obviously I wanted to test something that we could probably end up shooting. You know,
Sure.
that's the goal,
Sure.
right?
Right.
We're trying to find a broadhead for us to shoot, essentially.
Are we
for
shooting the
season.
top contender? Is that the goal here, or
Well-
is there some stubborn people in the group that are like, no, my broadhead's the best anyway? Is that the way it goes, or how's that going to go, Garrett?
Well, I don't think you're ever going to make everybody happy, number one. So I feel like the whole first half of this podcast is going to be disclaimers.
Yeah,
So-
it's probably
But-
it's
Unfortunately.
So the biggest thing that I like looking at this is like, okay, Ed Ashby is the one that had the broadhead test.
Yeah.
Or, like, there's a lot of, and it was written and based on a lot of different variables. He shot a lot of games. He shot
a lot of game animals. They're standing in different positions, different weighted bows,
So he
different
did it
weighted
just
heads.
in the wild version. He
Right,
did-
yeah,
not like
it
a
was
test,
mostly
like
Correct.
mostly Africa stuff. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
yeah, and a lot of trad stuff.
Which we're not dissing on what he
No,
did
no, for
at all.
sure. I mean, he basically had the baseline for it. So it's like, let's look at the modern day compound. Let's look at modern day broadheads, and break them in categories: expandables, replaceable,
Fixed.
and fixed. And so the biggest thing was like, how can we scientifically somewhat take all these variables out and then just put it to the broadhead? So same bow, same arrow. You know, we've got a shooting machine. We're trying to do the best that we can do. So that's the disclaimer, right? Like
Right.
there's
Sure.
probably going to be holes that someone can shoot through this, and spine, arrow, like deflection, all that. But
There is no perfect test.
No.
And, hopefully before I die, somebody creates a standardized test that we can test broadheads by, which I don't know if it's even possible. But, I mean, I've been saying this the whole time. There's no perfect test. Anytime I do a broadhead test, I always start off with a disclaimer. And like Cody was saying, trying to take as many variables out and then make it as consistent. Like, what are you shooting into? Well, that needs to be consistent. Shoulders aren't consistent. Leg bones aren't consistent. Plywood's not very consistent.
Right,
so
right.
we're trying to really narrow down what we're going to be shooting here. So we're going to be buying a more consistent plywood, a nicer plywood. I think is probably what we're going to be doing. We're going to be not using that for penetration tests because there's problems with that. So I've been reaching out to a lot of guys in the industry that I trust that really geek out on stuff like I do, and I'm like, punch holes in this. I can't really punch holes in that. Okay, then we're going to do that. So, because if those guys can't punch holes in it, then other guys that in the industry, or maybe even just whatever subscribers,
Looking from the outside in.
yeah, are going to have a hard time punching holes in this. So I've really been trying to do a lot of damage control before we even come out with these tests.
Right.
Just to make sure, because I want this to be something that somebody looks back, 10 years from now, because I think this is going to be one of those things.
Yeah.
So Cody and I were talking about it actually just before both of you guys got here about a spreadsheet and having a downloadable blog post. So basically, people will be able to print it off and see like all the tests that we're talking about. We'll get into that here in a second, but that we'll actually be able to score the broadheads. It's not just going to be this one did A minus.
as factual based as we can,
Yes,
right? I mean,
yeah.
that's the
Is-
objective side of it.
Correct. And another thing about all these broadheads is, we got some heads for free, but they're not cheap. So that's why we're at 45 and not 90.
Budget.
And we only have so much
Right.
time. But yeah,
Which, shout out to the folks who sent us heads. I sent like a broadhead drive post on Instagram and 8-9 different packs of heads.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
really
lot of
awesome.
money. Some guys sent, PayPal. He's like, hey, here's $40.
And it's putting your money where your mouth is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what's cool about it to me. It's just like, hey, I believe in my Broadhead enough to where guys go test it, go do it. That's pretty awesome, really.
And we've even had some manufacturers. I'm not going to use names here because they were nice enough to send us heads and stuff. But they said, since we started sending you heads and stuff, we decided to test it. And we would prefer if you did not test our head because we found some flaws in our. That's happened twice with me now. So
no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So just us doing this and shedding a light on the heads and being really thorough scares the crap out of some of these broadhead manufacturers to where now they're rethinking their game. So
that's cool.
No, we're improving the game just by shining a really good light in a lot of different areas.
Yeah. Yeah. The hardest one that I think and is one of the most critical that we cannot test is really wound channel. I mean, that how quick, what it will do blood wise, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people overlook with broadheads. Like, they shoot one animal with it in that circumstance, and then they think, oh, well, that's the end all. That was a great blood trail, or it was an and like not realizing angle, penetration, angle down, high, low, however that be. So that is one that, like, I guess, do we want to get into like the categories?
Sure.
Like how,
I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to kind of lay it out there.
Yeah, and I'd also like to say we're not testing arrow systems. We are testing broadheads. We are testing how well your broadhead that's picked up by somebody in a store and has put on their arrow is going to perform.
Yeah,
we're not. That's what we're testing.
So we have a baseline. So we're gonna shoot it out of. I've got a Hoyt Helix Ultra that we're gonna shoot it at 31-inch draw length, 70 pounds, day 6, 250 spine arrow with his concentric outsert.
Centric system.
Centric insert outsert. So that is the control module through this whole deal. So.
And honestly, it could have been any arrow. Brian stepped up and said, hey, I like what you guys are doing, and that's why we're using day 6. For me personally, I don't care what arrow it is, but Brian's a great guy. He makes a good arrow. And the fact that he's willing to step up and basically supply the arrows, because we're going to be smashing some arrows in this test.
Right, and it was one, too, when we did the arrow destruction test last year, the longest lasting arrow in durability. So
So shout out to him. Thanks for being willing to support the testing with arrows, man. I mean, it could have been an Easton, it could have been anything. It's a day 6, and it's a really good, consistent. I built my first batch a month ago, 2 months ago, and they're a really good baseline for an arrow. I mean, there's some guys had a problem with that, and it is what it is. I mean, no one else stepped up and sent us a bunch of arrows, so Brian did, and I appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
Yep. So I guess so we will outline the FOC, the kinetic energy, the momentum of that setup. So that information will be reported. Started off with like the overview of.
So basically consistency, right? On the broadhead test that I've seen, it's, hey guys, we got this X and X broadhead, and we're going to shoot it through a sheet of plywood, and that's the test. Well, we're trying to get a little bit more factual, and we're trying to break down and rate the broadheads in multiple categories. So first one is consistency. We've got weight, sharpness, and spin tests. So for the consistency test, we are going to individually weigh the package of 3 broadheads. So we will get 3 weights from the 3 broadheads. Some of them might be 127, some of them might be 118, some of them might be exactly 125. We'll take the 3 weights we get, and we will get the mean, meaning the average from the 3. So
shocked that you knew that word. Just saying.
Hey, I got an A+ in the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So for consistency, that's what we're going to be doing. So for the weight, and then for the sharpness, we actually bought a.
Yeah, we reached out to Benchmade and said, how do you guys test your knife blades?
I called Troy, and he says, well, what would work best for you is this thing from a company called Edge On Up. It's basically going to test how much weight it takes for the broadhead to cut. I don't know exactly.
Essentially, it's like, think of the flossums, like the little plastic flossums that you get that has and so you put down that on the scale, and it's going to basically weigh the pressure that is applied to cut that. As soon as that pressure breaks, it records that value.
I was calling it a breach test because
Yeah.
it's how much pressure does it take for the broadhead to breach into the surface that we're testing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, for guys that follow Iron Will on Instagram, he does a breach test with his heads. And that kind of is where this idea came from, is like, well, we should do that. But we should do that with all the heads. And then to take it a step further, which I don't know if we should get into this yet or not, with the retention aspect of it, after shooting them into what we're going to shoot them in, we're going to retest them for sharpness, edge retention, and then we're going to get a percentage of edge retention change there, which no one else has done. That's a brand new test. No one else has ever done that.
And we're not sharpening them. We're taking it out of the package.
Correct.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And the thing is I can foresee some of these videos being like 35, 40 minutes long just because of how many heads we have to show.
Right.
People are going to say, oh, well, we didn't see the full, you pulling the head out of, taking that specific arrow over to the thing, cutting it. You're going to have to take our word on it.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
going to get that.
The objective is to not be, we're not biased. We're just testing heads. And
Absolutely. So
we're as curious as everybody else to
Yeah.
know what's going to perform and
we
what's
don't
not.
have a Broadhead sponsor.
No.
So,
I've got high hopes for certain ones.
yes.
And I'm crossing my fingers they perform like I want them to. But by no means necessary am I going to skew any result ever.
Right.
Because credibility is all we got.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
really what it comes down to. It's not worth wasting that over being biased over one head.
No.
I just don't even understand that. But
So for the third category in the consistency, it's going to be a spin test. We're not quite sure how we're going to scale it. It's going to be more a pass-fail, which is easier. In high school.
Definitely.
So we will be spin testing those heads as well. You want to break down the accuracy, Cody?
Yeah.
That's just the first. That's just in the consistency.
Yeah, that's
That's
consistency.
that's just one category.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, we're going to be here for days.
Next up is accuracy. So we've thought about this, like thinking, how do we, the variable of people outside, anything of that. And so we reached out. Spot Hog makes a shooting machine. It's called the Hooter Shooter. We shot it for the first time this week. It was awesome.
It was pretty freaking sweet.
So basically, we're going to have that elimination of variable of what a human can shoot.
Oh, I shot that low.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
It went off low. So we'll shoot a test or a test arrow on that. It'll be just a field point and then 2 broadheads, and take that group size and record that. So that's how that whole test is going to go down. I think the biggest thing there, we're going to shoot at 60 yards. So, it's a long shot, but not not 120 where you start getting some serious variables there.
Right.
And so
It's a
that'll
realistic shot for someone in the field.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
be 100%.
So
Yep.
that's pretty much what we're.
And I think you guys were telling me you were going to do that early in the morning.
Yeah, we need a
Yeah,
controlled
yeah.
environment.
To control
for
the
that.
environment.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
just another control, trying to control the wind. So,
Right.
we're all going out of our way to try and make this as consistent and
Yes.
eliminate the variables. So guys that are like, well, what about the wind? Well, we're trying to shoot it right in the early freaking crack in the morning. So there's another variable that we're trying to get rid of there.
Yep. So then we're moving on to the penetration category.
yeah.
This
So-
one was cool because it was really eye-opening last year. The one thing that I think we did really well in the broadhead test was introducing that cardboard layer.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
That was
I will
my
say
favorite test.
That is my favorite, and to be able to see the cardboard, like how it was like bunched, if you will, of where the head entered through. That's basically, you can see that as wound damage, essentially. So, not that we could ever rate that or scale that, but that's how you would see. Oh, okay, that did a lot
Well,
of damage.
you could see how long it took a expandable to deploy
To open
too.
up. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
and
crazy.
then where it didn't open up on one edge, which is going to pull the broadhead in a certain direction. If you are hitting with one blade and you're not hitting with another, it's
Sure.
going to churn that arrow or that
is
head,
Deflect
deflection.
which is
almost.
deflection.
Which-
So it showed a lot in that one cardboard test. That was, I wish we would have spent more time analyzing and understanding what we were looking at there, because
Right.
it was like I still think about that test all the time. It's like, wait, that was a deflection test too. Like there's a lot of things with that cardboard test, and I'm glad we're bringing that back.
yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to do that at 20 and at 60 yards. So penetration value at 20 versus 60 should be quite a bit of difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so that will also kind of help in with some of that drag testing that you really,
Yep.
you could do it with the chrono, but the variance with the chrono and a couple
True.
feet here
That's-
and there is not.
That was one of the ideas earlier.
Right.
I mean, We essentially also wanted to test sound in flight.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out a way for us to
Now we're taking
capture
it a little
the
far.
sound of.
Goodness
I mean,
gracious.
there's some broadheads that just flat sing as they're going down range.
Freedom Ring.
Well,
I mean, come on.
you got the whistlers.
That's right.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I was willing to donate a phone because I have my phone scope phone, and it has a decibel reader on there, and we could put it on a tripod and shoot right past it with a hooter shooter, obviously. And if it breaks, I don't really care because it's my phone scope phone. But you could measure the loudness as the broadhead passes by or pushes air. I know there's going to be louder ones that we're going to hear it on video. You're going to hear the ones on video that are louder than the others. I believe that. But I'm not sure if are we doing the loudness test?
I
No.
don't know. It's
I guess my question is does sound travel a lot faster? Is the animal gonna hear it before it gets there?
absolutely.
Does it?
There's been studies on that, and I don't know how conclusive it is.
So just don't open up like that. You never know.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last but not durability.
This is my favorite one. This is the Mythbusters, right? This is like let's break some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can chew cardboard all day, but let's break some
The
stuff.
only complaint I had about that one last year was not wearing safety glasses.
We did some stuff that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was standing behind a tree while they were shooting arrows at
the shoulder.
the shoulder blade. We got ridiculed for that. That was fun
funny.
though.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is always
about
fun
deflection.
destroying stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we using? Do we have a set barrier for that?
Yeah, so I mean, both with that penetration. So we're going to do the cardboard test, right? That'll all be anchored, so it's not moving. Last year we just kind of had some weight there. We've actually got a little bit better plan this year. Durability is going to be the same deal: anchored sheet of plywood, 3/4 inch MDF.
We went from Demolition Ranch last year to
Yeah.
kind of like Mythbusters this year.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
trying to up the game.
what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
I want some heads to die, and I want some heads to be able to succeed.
Right.
And this is not like aluminum plate. Some will survive
This is the
this.
sink or swim moment.
Yeah.
Aluminum
Right.
plate did pretty good actually last
Yeah.
year. I was shocked. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
pretty.
We can bring that in too. I mean,
Not a bad idea.
Kind of like a grand finale. Like, oh, this head won. Now let's kill it.
yeah.
Well, even aluminum didn't kill some of them.
That's true.
They shot through it and we could pull them right out. It was
That's true.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, and then that basically is when at that edge retention, we've talked about either after the cardboard or after the penetration test, depending.
Well, I'd probably do it after the cardboard because if it's blown up, we can't test the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
retention.
And because when you're testing that, if it goes through the just cardboard, and there's a major difference in how sharp it was, I don't know. That tells me a lot about the.
Well, cardboard though is in a pretty abrasive. Like it's actually a very there's going to be a dramatic difference. I think across the board.
Paper always seems to dull knives pretty quickly.
Yeah, no,
sharpness, you mean?
cardboard is a very big
Yeah,
abrasive. So.
I'm really curious. That's one where whatever the results are going to be, I bet I'm surprised. you
Yeah,
know? And
it'll
Yes.
be interesting.
So as we go through these tests, is there going to be broadheads that'll drop out early? Like just trying to look at the tests.
As in, what do you mean drop out?
Well,
early?
are we going to okay, this one's not even going to, are we going to take it clear to the end even if the broadhead is performing terribly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So break down the not the rating system, Cody.
Yeah, so we were kind of looking at this, like how do we? So we've got our three categories: expandable, fixed, replaceable blade, but we don't have all the same amount in each category. So those definitely going to be categorical winners. But say if we have 15 fixed blade heads, each test is going to be worth the max 15 points, and the lowest scoring head is going to be 1 point. So it's going to be a ranking system, and then basically we'll combine all that after each test. Overall point score would be how that
So the
comes out.
replaceable blades will be competing against replaceable blades.
Correct.
And
Yep.
then the expandables, and fixed the fixed.
Yep.
Because we got talking to DMing. So I kind of pimp myself out there for free heads on Instagram, and some people were like, "Well, it wasn't exactly a fair." Blah blah blah. They didn't know if they wanted to send us heads. It's like, okay, well, we're doing it in categories this year, and it was just kind of eye opening. So I was like, well, we'll do it justice, and we'll have everything competing in, I guess the category
Right.
should.
Well, I'll just say it. Some of the expandables didn't want to participate in our test because some of them weren't structured in their favor. So my thing is this is a pretty darn objective test, and we're not going to put an extra barrier in front of a barrier to make your broadhead deploy quicker. Like, we have some of the most talked about heads of 2019 right now. We have the Zeus, the Sever. Do we have Thorn yet, or did we get Thorn?
I don't know. We didn't.
But we have some of these. We have the Trocars, the hybrids,
kill zones.
The Tripans, I think, and so I understand why some of these guys didn't want to get in the games, because they're gonna be exposed. I mean, straight up, we're gonna expose some heads here. In my opinion, we'll see if I'm right or wrong, but. Some of these broadhead manufacturers just didn't want to play, but luckily we had people send us their heads anyways. So,
I do know it seems like in that replaceable blade head, Exodus has been a very talked about head. A lot of people asking about. I'm curious to see how that
I've
one.
seen very good things from that.
Yeah.
Steve's shooting it again.
Yeah.
Trevor's shooting it.
Yeah.
Trail's shooting it. Yeah.
Trevor shot him a year.
Trevor did.
that was on one of my hit list of ones I wanted. I wanted the Day 6 Evos, I wanted the Annihilators, and I wanted the Exodus, and I wanted the Zeus, and and the Sever. Those are the ones I most highly wanted to test. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got some some Australian heads. We got a few different Australian heads. That are definitely on that durability.
Yes.
They're built for the durability,
They
but
look
whether
like
they
it.
do or how they do in some of the other tests.
Did we get those Hurricane ones? The 3-blade single bevel?
The Hurricane 3-blade.
Yeah.
The offset.
Did we get those? No. I got a guy that'll send us some then. So I'll.
Did we
reach
get the
out to him.
Cayuga? No. So we reached. No, we didn't.
No, we did
Okay.
not. But we will in the future have those.
Yes.
Yes.
Gotcha.
There you go. So back to my original question: who is going to shoot the head that hits the top of the ladder?
Most likely. I mean, I will.
I will in the fixed blade.
Okay.
I plan on shooting 2 different broadheads on my hog hunt next week. So I plan on not changing what I do. I'm going to keep testing all the heads on the market, and despite what our results do, I don't get stuck on a head, man. So
Gotcha.
you can't pin me down.
This isn't a permanent.
I'm just
thing.
asking.
Next
I'm just
year, we
asking.
might do this
Yeah.
test again. And
Yeah.
I'm shooting a new head.
I mean, honestly though, like I'm still a pretty big proponent of a 2-blade single bevel or a single bevel head. I like that wound channel. I've shot them the last 6 years or something, and really like them. And my original when I first got a bow in my hand when I was 12 years old, I shot a Delta Snuffer. It's a fixed blade. It's like about the most traditional 3-blade broadhead a guy could. So I've always been on that realm of a fixed blade head. I really haven't shot. I think I've killed one elk with a thunderhead, but other than that, it's
Really?
been almost all fixed blade. Yeah.
Should we all take predictions on what's going to perform the
Each
best?
category.
Sure.
Oh, our favorites.
I think Trent's is going to be bone.
Well, I mean, right now, because that's the only one I've known actually that's in this test.
And
really.
tested and-
yeah. Other than that, I mean, last year I shot Strickland's, even though the bones performed the best, but
Really?
that was because I couldn't get any bones. So.
Out of stock.
Yeah, we're out of stock. So anyway, maybe I can get some this year. I don't know, but I'll shoot whatever. It doesn't, to me, I don't know. It's like I think you can get hung up on a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
no, I agree.
it's one of those things where to me, it's like it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun test.
But to me, honestly, broadhead's more important than a sight on your bow, whatever it is. Like that is the only thing that actually interacts with your quarry.
Whoa.
So-
huh?
To my opinion, if you spend all this money and then you're like, I'm just going to get these broadheads like that, you're doing yourself disservice and the animal disservice by not trying to shoot the best head out there, or and whether that like I said, this test may not be the end all be all by any means. It's just like here's the
And
consistent.
I think to your point, every single person has a different opinion on
1,000%.
what
That would be
is.
right.
Yeah,
That would be what I would say,
absolutely.
too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, like to me, I want a 2-blade with a bleeder, just because
Same here.
I've seen skin cut up or over, I don't know,
Right.
cover up the wound so that way it doesn't bleed more. And I think a bleeder blade, obviously, it's called bleeder blade. It's gonna really help give me a blood trail. So that's
Right.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping a 2-blade with a bleeder will do well for the fixed.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Trent, you're not as concerned with you want to basically shish kebab an elk from front to back, right? I mean, you want penetration.
If I can.
Yeah.
Wherever.
So, and if you don't get blood trail, then so be it. That thing's going to die very quickly.
Still have to hit them right, I guess,
Yeah.
as far as in any broadhead you shoot. And so then there's that, that test of, well, is accuracy more important than penetration, or you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
So all these tests are.
I mean, it's accuracy, penetration, durability, like those.
The whole thing.
Yeah. I'm up there because Wes and I have a little bit different priority because I want blood trail. I mean, that's really important to me. Because on that bull last year where I called you guys, I'm like, I got no blood. I know I smoked him. Like, I don't
that
know.
can happen.
Yeah. And so after that experience,
What were you shooting again?
that was the kudu.
Okay.
And I shot him probably 2 inches above the heart. I mean, it was right where I thought I did.
Yeah.
And
What, broadside?
broadside shot, and it was 17, 18 yards. He ended up going 60 yards, but it was so thick, it took me. I looked for him a lot of that night, and then I found him right off the bat the next morning.
Yeah.
So.
No.
And all the meat was good. All the meat was good.
No, that's one thing as far as. It all depends on, does he have his arm back? Did he tuck that, like Weston was just saying, tuck the skin back? There's a ton
There's
of
a lot,
variables.
yeah.
Tons of variables.
I told somebody that I heart shot and one or double lunged my cow last year, and they said, "I bet your blood trail was awesome." It's like, didn't bleed at all.
Didn't hardly have
because I
any
shot
blood.
it through the shoulder,
Right.
and then the shoulder's covering up it, and it didn't exit, so there was no.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the broadhead's fault that I was shooting.
Yeah.
It was placement.
Your fault.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I blame you most.
And I mean,
Don't get
in
that.
the tree stand world, I think, they talk about big openings, and but they don't necessarily concern about penetration. Where if you're shooting down an animal and you penetrate well, you're going to have a phenomenal blood trail if you can get that second,
If you
The
get a pass
empty, the
through.
drain hole.
correct. Yes. Yeah. So it's like I said, I've been on a pile of blood trails in my life, and some have been broadhead, like great. Some have not been. The shot was good. It should be a good blood trail. It was low, broadside, double pass through, and have not had great blood trails. Where I think that was a broadhead.
Yeah.
But
I noticed that when I switched to the kudu last year was one of the most talked about broadheads for me personally, with guys wanting to know what I thought about them. I'm like,
Right.
well, let me build an opinion. And so I went and hunted with them all year last year, which I typically don't do. But my blood trails weren't as consistently good as a 3-blade, obviously, because you're not going to have a hole. You're
Right.
going to have a slice. And
Right.
so, they penetrated. I got pass-throughs on everything, right? They were deadly accurate. They were quiet. But the blood trail was the Achilles heel for me. And is that going to be every time? No, not at all. I mean, you could have a red carpet with a kudu, but for me, it
What
was
you
less
found.
consistent. It was less likely.
yeah, and then we did kind of touch on the deflection side of it, and I think you're right. The cardboard, especially in the expandables, is going to be pretty easy to see some deflection if one blade. But on a fixed head or a replaceable head, we really haven't been able to dial in something that can be somewhat consistent, other than shooting a piece of plywood at an angle. And some heads may penetrate, some may not. That's kind of my thoughts of that's one variable during this test. If we come up with something, we may
And if
pivot and
someone's
get
got
that
ideas,
included.
give us an email.
Yeah.
To Trent at no, I'm just kidding. But no,
Let's pump the brakes on that one a little bit
but
there.
as far as the deflection goes, we really have not been able to think of a good enough test to, as far as the in depth as we're going to test.
Right. Same thing with the leak test. I had my heart set on leak test, and I could not for the life of me figure out a good way to do an objective leak test, and that's like a blood trail test. And
How quick something
how quick something would release liquid or drain, and we're not going to do it because I couldn't think of a really good objective way.
I remember when Toxics first came on the market, that round,
The
they shut the milk jug.
Yes,
you
yeah.
know.
I killed a cow and a buck with a toxic.
Here we go.
we have those in the test, don't we?
I don't
No.
think so.
Well, I will get some, and we will have those in the
So
test.
46 heads.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And then one thing I do want to say is, it's another disclaimer. I'm sorry, but there's different levels of broadheads here for price range. We have $125 pack of broadheads, or somewhere around in there, and we have $10 pack of broadheads. So
I think we even have less than that.
yeah, and so
Less
putting
than $10 for 3?
That's
awesome.
It was the package of 6 or whatever you
Yeah.
had. The long.
The
Those
cold
ones?
steel.
Oh, yes.
Those are
Yeah.
like $5.
Yeah.
Really?
We've got
what I'm
dirt
talking
naps. We've got Chinese knockoff of dirt naps, which I think would be cool to compare those because I think they're probably pretty similar. But that's my biased opinion
Wow.
there.
Tough love.
I could go. I bought a pack to test one time, and I kept them in my tackle box. I didn't even test them because they were just out of the box. They were horrible.
Really?
They weren't even worth testing. But that's just my experience with that one Broadhead. So we'll see. Maybe they'll prove me wrong in this test. But what I'm saying here is, comparing that cheap shot. Is it called a cheap shot? They call themselves a cheap shot. I'm not being a jerk.
No, yeah, I think that is right.
Yeah.
It's Cold
Comparing-
Steel as a manufacturer.
Cold Steel, yeah. The Cold Steel
what I'm
cheap
talking.
shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comparing that to an Iron Will, that's not fair. Because
Right.
you're not paying. So we need to be objective on that as well. And you need to say, hey, an Exodus is
Should
going
we
against
look that up and have that somewhere in the whole test of how much they cost?
price range.
Yeah.
I think it's a
we'll
smart idea.
report
Yeah.
that in the spreadsheet for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll
It's
report it. It
simple.
doesn't necessarily have to be in the videos, but like in the data, everyone will see
Yeah.
how much it costs.
It's a good idea.
Cost per value. I don't know
Probably.
how you'd gauge that, but those cheap shots for me would be like a grouse arrow, or a
Maybe.
or a I don't know.
Carp.
Yeah, carp. You guys are carp killers now.
Real deal. Real
But
deal.
I wanted to throw that out there because some guys are going to have a problem with comparing a $10 broadhead to a $1 broadhead.
Yeah, 100%. Or $100 and some odd dollar. It just shocks me that 3 for $100 and some odd bucks.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to break it all down. We're going to do the whole test, and we're going to split it up into multiple videos so that way if you won't just have to watch a video for 5 hours because all these tests, they're going to take some time. So and
Yeah.
like everybody was saying, we're going to be super, super subjective as far as, a lot of things will speed up, obviously, because you don't want to watch us walking back and forth and pulling every single one out. But we don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, as far as that we're going to try to make win over top of the other ones. Everything's going to be equal.
And then the fun part of it is like we've got some other surprises up our sleeves. Is once we get through this, then we're gonna shoot some stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, a variety. and
A large variety.
yeah, may have some shoulder blades stashed in the freezer.
Bowling balls, teddy bears. Never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teddy bear holding a bowling ball.
Okay. Such a big secret. So, did we cover it?
I think we covered our CYA on this.
Yeah.
I think we gave a good idea of what we're testing. I'm personally really proud and excited about the fact that we're coming up with new ways to test heads. We are breaking ground on this with the edge retention test. No one else has done that. So I think it's a solid test, and I don't want to hype it up too much because I'm not. I'm just not into hyping stuff up, but I am very excited about this test. It's going to be one that people
I'll
look
hype
at.
it up. You can just call me the hype man. This is going to be freaking
Hype man.
sweet.
Okay.
My thoughts on this is I want this to be the test that people compare things to for the next year when they go to buy heads, or even this year if we can hopefully get it out quick enough. I want them to be like, what head should I get? Oh, dude, you need to watch the Born and Raised Outdoors, the series they did on it, and you need to just figure it out, or you need to download their downloadable spreadsheet and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
Copy.
Cream
Heck
of the
yeah,
crop.
guys.
I love it,
Copy.
Yep.
Thanks
All
for
right.
having me on the show again.
Hey,
guys.
thanks for coming over.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of Garrett, check him out. He's got a great YouTube page. He's got a podcast called On Point. You can find that anywhere a podcast is
Websites
produced.
I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can check him out on Instagram, Facebook as well. So On Point, Garrett Weaver. Great stuff. Appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I am stoked to be a part of this. So thanks for letting me hop on.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
You were the first one we thought of. It's like, okay, something technical. Not to throw the nerd out thing, but
Hey, no, that's fine. And for your listeners, because I know you had a few guys, I am married. I do have a girlfriend.
oh man,
I know.
you just lost half our viewers.
I know. Some guys are like, that guy needs to find a girlfriend. I am married, so I'm just gonna throw that one out there.
Good call.
I do have a life.
Good God. Well, thank you, man, for coming on. And,
All right, guys.
Anyway, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
See ya.
See ya.